Guys, this is Shadowq, and today I wanted to talk about is Smite too hard? And this is a video that Ally posted a while ago, and I'm just now getting to a response to it. But I think it's a complicated topic, and I think it's really interesting to discuss, and what faults I see in Allied's argument. So let's start by saying that uh, in Allied's video, he really talks about how Smite is generally just has some things that are too complicated. He cites like pulling buffs or knowing exactly how to farm or knowing that this gank could happen at this time. And I've talked about global ultimates before and that it actually really is hard to play around. But my argument to all of these is that Smite is a MOBA and the things that he talks about are inherent to the MOBA genre. And this does get a bit complicated. Some games that you guys think are MOBAs probably aren't, at least by my definition. By my definition, a MOBA is basically a game with three lanes, some sort of jungle, and you push down the enemy's base to win. And that's kind of it. You buy items and, farm and gank and all that sort of stuff. And basically inherent in this genre is the fact that you basically don't know what you're doing at first. When you enter a new game mode like Conquest, basically, there is so much complicated stuff to learn, like just how to pull a single buff, or how to farm, or that this item is a little bit better in this situation. Like MOBAs have inherently these high learning spike things, and that's like part of their game design. Like knowing when to split push or knowing how to avoid a gank is not really inherent mechanic wise to anything, but just learning the map and learning how to do things with that map is just part of a MOBA. And that's really where Smite's difficulty is viewed from. Uh, Basically, these things exist because that's the way the game is designed. Um, if you look at other games, which technically aren't MOBAs in my opinion, like WoW Arena, it doesn't have these things. It's basically just pure mechanics and fighting. If you look at a game like Bloodline Champions, it's basically the same game type as WoW Arena. Or if you really compare it to Heroes of the Storm, which is not a MOBA, at least in my book, you can really see these differences. Like in Heroes of the Storm, there is farming, there is jungle, and there are major objectives to do, just like a MOBA. But the focus of the game is so much more on the fighting and the objectives rather than the minute things that you have to learn, like pulling buffs, that it's kind of a stretch to call it this type of game. Uh, Blizzard actually specifically calls it a hero brawler, I believe is their word for it, which is really weird, right? But they specifically try not to call it a MOBA because it really lacks a bunch of those MOBA elements. Farming is obviously important, but nowhere near as hugely key of a focus as it is in other MOBAs. Like the design of MOBAs is meant to like reward people for learning specifically what to do on the map rather than actually playing with the mechanics of the gods and stuff like that. It's just kind of like how MOBAs are supposed to be designed. Like that's a really good thing. People like that genre. Uh, I think if Smite wanted to be less of a MOBA, they could basically have a map, like Here's the Storm. They could add something like that, uh, where, for example, there's a map in Here's the Storm where you kill a bunch of minions on the map. They give you points, and once you get enough points, your siege golem becomes stronger. Except this already exists exactly in Smite. It is called Siege, and the point of it is to be exactly like that. It's not supposed to have all the complexities of Conquest. It's supposed to be a very easy to learn map. There's not really too much complicated things on the map, and it's supposed to be really easy and fun and quick games, and that's exactly what Siege accomplished. They have a non-MOBA game mode, just like Heroes of the Storm, in Smite already. That's exactly what it's for, and honestly, I think it's great game design. I think it's has the potential to be a lot more fun. But if you're arguing that Smite's too hard for MOBA elements, I argue that Smite is a MOBA, and that's just the way it's going to be no matter what. And the things that are generally argued basically can't be simplified for that reason. And if you wanted a different type of game mode, well, it already exists. If you want to push for it to be the main competitive game mode, that's one thing. But I think that it already exists, and that's basically it. Smite is a MOBA. These are things that happen in a MOBA. These are things that should not even be fixed. Whether or not they can be is a different question completely. But I think it's really cool to look at it that way. I think Smite's designed really well as a game. It's super fun. And if it wanted to not be a MOBA, well, then it could just not be a MOBA, but right now it is. So, those are my thoughts on the subject. Before you really go and talk about how buffs are just too hard to do on timers and all the sort of complicated stuff that exists in Smite, I would go to think if these things were changed, it would basically just be a new genre of game. So those are my final thoughts on the subject. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe and follow me on social media that I'm going to link below, and I will see you guys next time.